While Crash Bandicoot 4 launched for the PS4 and Xbox One way back in October last year, it's picked up steam once again as it releases for the current generation of consoles as well as the PC. But for PC players, there's another far more pressing reason people are talking about it. Because nobody can actually play the damn thing. People simply can't play it. Not because it has poor performance or game-breaking bugs, but because it's yet another example of a game that requires a constant internet connection. The latest edition of the infamous Crash Bandicoot franchise is, by all accounts, a good game. But that doesn't rightly matter when an entire platform of players can't play it because, fuck you, always online DRM. Internet cuts out? Get fucked. Live in a rural area without high-speed internet access? Get fucked. Login servers go out 4 times in a single month? Get mega fucked. Always online DRM, the bane of our existence since Valve first popularized this bullshit back in the early 2000s. Yes, because as awful as Activision-Blizzard is for having some shoddy login servers, the fact is always online is a blight and should never have been invented to begin with. The first problem with needing constant online authentication is that you are forcing users down the path of a single point of failure. This failure point is inherent in the very concept of always online and it cannot be removed, because then you wouldn't need to be always online. That's the one point of failure. The fact you have to make an authentication check to another server, which obviously requires you to be connected to the internet unless you're somehow sitting directly inside the server room. And the primary argument for all this nonsense is to prevent piracy. Ah yes, that mythical beast. Ignoring the fact that the game itself was cracked in a single day, it's not an argument that any legitimate user should ever give a flying fuck about, because if you've actually spent your money, then the product should just work. You think I give a fuck about people pirating from a multi-billion-dollar company that makes more money from glorified gambling and overpriced cosmetics than they do from actually selling the games? No, that's absurd. This is the company who, only a day after firing a few dozen people, come under fire again for giving the CEO a $200 million payout. Oh, but a few people are pirating your games. Probably because they actually want to play it on their time and not on the time of your server engineers. This isn't exactly the first time this type of thing has happened either. Diablo 3 and StarCraft 2, both Blizzard games that have the same always online garbage, also suffered major issues on launch because, wow, what do you know? A few 100,000 people trying to cram themselves into your server all at once is gonna cause issues. Man, imagine if both of those games were single player and had an offline story mode. Oh wait, they did have single player story modes, and you still have to be online, because again, fuck you. SimCity 2013 suffered the same exact bullshit, and Maxis, the developers, had the audacity to claim that the game used cloud computing for the in-game processing. Wow, what magical horseshit! The players then shortly figured out that's total wank after changing a single file and immediately realizing how full of shit both Maxis and EA are. How about Hitman? All the new Hitman games from 2016 onwards require some form of online connection at various points, or else you may as well not bother playing. You can't complete challenges, you can't unlock gear, and let's not even get into the idea of never returning timed content. Great. Amazing. What happens when the servers inevitably go down? Because that's the cost of always online. Either the authentication servers stay up all the time, or you lose access. Completely. What happens when those servers are no longer economically viable to maintain? What if the company operating them goes tits up? You lose access, that's what. A few companies like Valve have made vague mentions of continued service in the event of their untimely demise, but nobody can hold them to that. If they go bankrupt and cease to exist, then they no longer have to care. They don't have the money to care. If their ownership is passed down onto someone else who doesn't hold up those promises, then again, they don't have to care. There's very little safeguards as is for customers when it comes to the whole live service model, so what legal obligations are there for a company to continue providing you access to the online services you've paid for 10, maybe even 20 years ago? Maybe even under a different ownership entirely? Hell, I remember when Skyrim came out back in 2011. I was so excited for it until I discovered that even the physical copy for PC required an online connection to authenticate, because you had to go through Steam. Now this is pretty normal by today's standards, but as someone who is living in the arse end of nowhere, even dial-up didn't help, because Steam's login service will time you out long before a shitty 56k modem will ever have time to process any of it. At that point, my only solution was piracy. I'd already paid for the game, I shouldn't have to then pay for a working internet connection to actually fucking play it. We give obvious exceptions to online games with online interactions like World of Warcraft or Fortnite, but games like Crash Bandicoot aren't online games and do not require any online interactions to play other than the always online ass fuckery. That's it. I don't have to talk to anyone, I don't need to group up or engage in online matchmaking, but I still have to be online because some wankstain in a crisp navy suit who's likely never played a video game in his entire fucking life says so. All because of the big scary boogeyman we call piracy. That boogeyman that once again cracked the damn game in a single fucking day. The only people who get screwed by this are, as usual, legitimate customers. The same people who get screwed over by DRM in general, since anyone dedicated to piracy will just wait it out a bit. Or a day. Again, did I mention that? The cost of saving your money is biding your time, and for people who can't access the game at all because they live in an area with poor internet access or because they're just tired of Blizzard's shitty login servers going down, that cost is probably worth it. For the rest of us, the game industry says get fucked. As usual, my name is MrTastix. If you want to see more of this type of thing, then smash the shit out of the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time.